Welcome to Algorithmic Arguments. I'm your host, the Orchestrator. Tonight, we're tackling a question that's been on everyone's mind. Will Apple TV surpass Netflix as the leading streaming service? This isn't just about numbers. It's about what we value in entertainment and how our viewing habits are reshaping the industry. Joining me are Brenda Ashworth-Collins, with her keen insights into social intelligence and strategic thinking. CryptoChad, Brennan, who's always a pulse on the tech and financial trends that drive these platforms. Nana Kowalski, bringing decades of experience from classic Hollywood to understand what audiences crave. And Mei-Ling Chen, with her expertise in global supply chains and tech manufacturing. Over the next hour, we'll dissect Apple TV's aggressive moves, Netflix's challenges, and everything in between. Our panelists will share their unique perspectives on market trends, strategic missteps, and technological innovations that could tip the scales. Let's dive into a conversation that's as unpredictable as it is insightful.
Forgive me, but I think we're looking at this question through the wrong lens. It's not about which platform will surpass the other. It's about their distinct strategies and what that means for market share. Apple's focus on niche content and exclusive deals, like that recent pact with Major League Soccer, suggests they're targeting a specific demographic willing to pay premium prices for unique offerings. Netflix, on the other hand, is going after scale with its broad library and aggressive pricing strategy. That reminds me of a Nash equilibrium. Both players are optimizing their strategies given the other's moves. How interesting that Apple's reportedly planning to bundle Apple TV Plus with other services. That's a clever play to boost adoption. Can we discuss what this bundling might mean for subscriber growth?
The data suggests that Apple's 180 million subscribers globally are a significant threat to Netflix's lead. But let's not forget, Netflix has over 220 million subscribers and generates $25 billion in annual revenue. Apple's recent deals with major studios like Sony Pictures Television and the NFL will certainly boost its content offerings, but they need to produce more originals that appeal to a broader audience. The ROI on producing high-quality content is substantial. Witness Netflix's success with Stranger Things, which reportedly generated over $1 billion in revenue. Apple needs similar hits to close the gap efficiently. Continue investing heavily in content and global expansion if it wants to surpass Netflix. Anything less does not optimize for growth. What are Apple's chances of producing a breakout hit like Stranger Things or The Crown?
Mei-Ling Chen's mention of Apple's 180 million subscribers seems slightly outdated. I'd recommend verifying the current numbers for accuracy.
Look, in 5 years, I think we're going to see a seismic shift in how we consume media, and decentralized finance will be at the forefront of that change. Apple's got a strong play with their ecosystem, but let's talk about the numbers: current subscribers, revenue growth, and user engagement. I've been following this space closely, and while Apple TV has 75 million subscribers as of last quarter, chart increasing, Netflix still leads with over 220 million globally, showing Americas. However, I think we're still early in terms of streaming adoption. There's plenty of room for innovation and disruption. Rocket. This is not financial advice, but I'm long on Apple's decentralized content strategy to the moon. HODL your favorite streaming stocks, folks. Television money with wings. Tags confident talking.
Chad, while your enthusiasm is noted, let's keep the discussion grounded in current market realities. Your mention of decentralized finance, although interesting, may be premature for this conversation.
I think it's highly unlikely that Apple TV will surpass Netflix in the near future. Let's look at the numbers. Netflix has over 220 million subscribers worldwide, while Apple TV Plus has around 20 million. That's a significant gap to close. Not to mention, Netflix has been investing heavily in original content for years, producing some of the most critically acclaimed shows and movies on the platform. Apple TV Plus, on the other hand, has had some successes with shows like The Morning Show, and Ted Lasso, but it still lags behind in terms of overall content library and subscriber base. I think Apple's deep pockets will allow them to stay competitive, but surpassing Netflix. I'm not holding my breath.
As we analyze the trajectory of these two giants, it's clear that Apple's deep pockets and ecosystem give it a unique advantage. But let's not overlook Netflix's first-mover status and its aggressive foray into original content. I'd argue that Apple TV's strategic partnerships and bundling with other services could be the sleeper hit that disrupts the market, and I think we're just starting to see the tip of that iceberg. Stay tuned, folks, as we dissect this further. If you're enjoying this debate, subscribe so you don't miss what happens next.
As a seasoned observer of classic Hollywood and its evolution into today's entertainment landscape, I must emphasize that subscriber growth isn't solely dependent on deep pockets or flashy partnerships. It's about creating content that truly resonates with audiences. Now, let's not dismiss Apple's efforts entirely. Their collaborations with major players like Sony Pictures Television do show promise. However, when it comes to Netflix's massive library and its proven track record of producing globally appealing hits like Squid Game and The Crown, I think it's naive to assume Apple can simply outspend them into the lead position. The real question here is whether Apple's niche strategy will pay off in the long run or if it'll ultimately prove too limited for widespread adoption. After all, as any Hollywood producer knows, broad appeal often trumps targeted success, at least when it comes to building a truly dominant streaming service.
Diana Nana D.I. Kowalski's mention of Apple's 85 million subscribers seems to have been an error, as previous statements mentioned much lower numbers. Let's ensure accuracy.
I'd like to clarify a point. According to Apple's Q4 2022 earnings, they have around 20 million subscribers, not 85 million. That being said, let's examine their growth trajectory. eMarketer projects Apple TV Plus will reach 40 million subscribers by 2025. While that outpaces Netflix's expected growth rate of about 10%, it's still a significant gap to close. Apple's bundling strategy and high-quality originals could help. Mei-Ling raises a valid point, though. Can they produce content with mass appeal like Squid Game? Their recent deals with MLS and Sony Pictures Television are intriguing, but let's not underestimate Netflix's brand loyalty and global reach. How interesting that we might see Apple focus on niche programming to build a loyal subscriber base. After all, that's precisely what drove HBO's success. Bless my husband's heart, he'd say it's about time someone disrupted the streaming duopoly. Perhaps Apple's waiting for the right moment to strike. As we wrap up this discussion, I want to distill my key points and observations. It's clear that Apple's deep pockets and ecosystem give it a significant advantage, but let's not underestimate Netflix's first-mover advantage and established user base. I've been impressed by the strategic partnerships Apple has made, such as with Disney and HBO, which will undoubtedly bolster its content offerings. However, Netflix's data-driven approach to content creation and its proven track record of producing hit shows can't be ignored. That reminds me of a Nash equilibrium. Both players are making optimal decisions given their circumstances. In this case, I believe Apple TV has the potential to surpass Netflix in terms of subscriber growth within the next 3 years, but it won't be without fierce competition. The real question is, what will happen when Apple's services segment becomes a larger contributor to its overall revenue?
Look, in 5 years, we're still early in the streaming wars, and I think Apple TV has a real play here. They've got the wallet to make big moves. $200 billion in cash reserves isn't something to sneeze at. Their original content strategy is alpha. Shows like Ted Lasso are getting critical acclaim and driving subscriptions. Plus, seamless integration with iPhones and other Apple devices gives them an edge. We're seeing a shift towards niche platforms, and Apple's got the ecosystem to make it happen. I'm not saying Netflix is going away, it's still a giant, But I think Apple TV's got this under-the-radar momentum that'll propel it past Netflix in terms of subscriber growth within the next 3 years. This isn't financial advice, by the way. Rocket money bag television. To the moon.
I think it's highly unlikely that Apple TV will surpass Netflix in the near future. While Apple's deep pockets and innovative approach to content creation are certainly a threat, they still have a long way to go in terms of subscriber numbers and brand recognition. As of now, Netflix boasts over 220 million subscribers worldwide, while Apple TV Plus has around 20 million. That's a significant gap to close. Not to mention, Netflix's original programming has become synonymous with quality entertainment, from critically acclaimed series like The Crown to addictive guilty pleasures like Stranger Things. Apple's recent deals with big-name producers are promising, but it'll take time for their content to resonate with audiences on the same level as Netflix. I believe Apple TV will continue to gain ground, but surpassing Netflix? Not in my lifetime, dear.
Let's examine the data. Apple's subscriber growth rate stands at 25% YOY, while Netflix's is around 10%. However, we must consider the scale difference. Netflix has over 220 million subscribers versus Apple's 40 million. The ROI on investment in content also varies. Apple spends roughly $6 billion annually, compared to Netflix's $15 billion. Efficient growth for Apple would require targeted acquisitions or originals that resonate with global audiences. That does not optimize for a quick win, it's a marathon. If I had to forecast based on current trajectories and cash reserves, I'd say Apple's efficient execution could close the gap within 5 years, but surpassing Netflix requires more than just subscriber numbers. It needs cultural relevance at scale. What is the ROI on this conversation?
As we wrap up today's discussion on whether Apple TV will surpass Netflix as the leading streaming service, let's revisit some of the most compelling arguments we've heard. Our panelists brought their A game, tackling everything from content strategy to subscriber growth. Mei-Ling Chen made a strong case for Netflix's brand loyalty, while CryptoChad, Brennan offered an intriguing perspective on Apple's potential for disruption through its ecosystem. In the end, Nana Kowalski takes the top spot with 16 points, thanks to her razor-sharp analysis of subscriber growth trends and Apple TV's strategic acquisitions. Her insights gave us all a lot to think about. To our panelists, Brenda Ashworth-Collins, Mei-Ling Chen, CryptoChad, Brennan, and especially Nana Kowalski, thank you for elevating the conversation. And to our audience, if you've enjoyed this episode of Algorithmic Arguments, be sure to like what you've seen, subscribe for more thought-provoking discussions, and hit that notification bell. We've got a lot more exciting conversations lined up. Until next time, stay curious.